Thanks very much. I know Katja and will be managing the chat, so please take part in the chat. We're really keen to hear your thoughts and comments, and particularly if you want any follow-up. And if you want to just share any of your details, what sort of role you've got, I'm sure that would be really interesting for the other attendees as well, just so we know who, the sort of challenges and issues that you're bringing along to this webinar. This is the series of webinars that we've put on every Thursday at 12:30, so that we can look at, as we're all going through planning at the moment, we thought we'd put on a series of webinars to look at different aspects of planning and, explore them as a collective and put some thoughts out into the system really around opportunities to improve. So today I'm very pleased to welcome my colleague Jim Hayes, who will be chairing the event with myself, Alison Tong. So I'm just going to, and today we're looking at place-based and community services and the opportunities that planning can give us to make a difference. So, and just a bit about the agenda today. So we're going to look at, as I say, if you can share your name and role, that would be amazing. A little bit on connected planning and what we mean by connected planning and the opportunities that are in front of the NHS and wider care sector to really start to connect our resources together to make a difference to patients and our wider public. We have got a demo and we are going to talk about some of the benefits that we've seen in that. But the most important thing is for us to have the conversation together, and the slides will be available, but all of the material goes onto our internet and onto YouTube as well. So following this, we will share the information for you to use when you've got a little bit more time to go through that. Thank you. Just a very brief word on the CSUs, if colleagues are not aware of them. There are 4 CSUs. We've come together as one enterprise recently. So we operate across all 42 health and care systems. And we have a range of key supports that we provide, workforce transformation, productivity, performance improvement. We've got a very large data and business intelligence function across the CSUs. And we provide clinical strategy, transformation, consulting services. We are the go-to team to enable you to make a difference. We're very, very flexible and agile, and we're able to stand up teams and resources very quickly and have quite a depth of expertise available. And some of the stats there, I think, are speak for themselves really in terms of the depth and range of staff that we've got, and some of our stakeholders that we work with. In particular, one of the main stakeholders is NHS England. We also cover all of the local authorities across England with our BI products. We partner with the health innovation networks. We partner with a whole range of commercial organisations, very large blue chip organisations such as Amazon, Salesforce, you name it. We've got contracts and partnerships with a whole range of different organisations. So a great opportunity to access some of this support. I'm going to hand over to Jim, but just a very brief word on connected planning. What we're all trying to do is to make a difference to population health, quality of care, and obviously ensure that we offer good value in terms of the resources that we have to deploy. And therefore, we need good decision making. We need good evidence that we're managing our resources well if we're going to make a difference to those 3 triple aim objectives, as well as social value. But we need to also ensure that we are clear where we are making where we're making that difference. And we've got 4 elements here that we look at in terms of accountability. When we're looking at planning, we often look at it through the lens of an individual organisation. So we look at connecting our plans from the board level strategy through to our operational units. And that is the sort of really what you would expect and hope for to get the connected planning top to bottom. But we also want to roll it up across a region and a system. To the top right hand side, we want to look at planning across a whole pathway of care. So, for example, urgent care, How do we ensure that we've got our plans all stacked up for that particular pathway or set of processes across multiple organisations and many, many different departments contributing to that? But today we're going to look at this bottom set of objectives, which is how do we connect our plans to make a difference to a particular community, for a geography, for a place, and for a population need, whether that, as I say, whether that's urgent care, it could be for frailty or whatever. So that's what we want to look at today. And how do we do that? We do that through the lens of ensuring that we've got a really strong understanding of the assets that we have, the resources we've got, what difference we can make by connecting those resources together. So let me hand over to Jim to talk a little bit more about what the opportunity is for us, I think, in this sector. Thanks very much, Jim.
Thanks, Alison. I won't speak for too long so that we can have an opportunity to have a bit more of a conversation. Kat, are you going to move the slides on, please? So otherwise I can't do that. I'm the Director of Primary Care for Arden and CSU, but I've worked in the NHS all my career, and I've worked in planning in PCTs and NHS England and in acute as well. And what's one of the greatest difficulties always is to identify what sort of resources are available. And to be able to scenario plan, really. So if we do X, what happens to Y? And currently in my current role, I'm doing a lot of work around place-based. And obviously that fits in a lot with what Darcy and the NHS's strategic intent is more care in the place where people live, creation of local care organisations, meeting demand that manifests itself in the acute sector, but meeting it in the community sector, and understanding our population and population segmentation. So what we're working with or looking at integrated planning is how do we visualise and transparently surface across all of the providers and different sectors where we as people live and we as patients want to get the majority of our care. How do we visualise all of the resources, so estate, skills, people, workforce, voluntary sector, etc., to be able to say the current as is, how we're providing services now, identifying gaps. You can go on with the slides if you want, Katya. How do we identify the gaps that are preventing us from achieving the NHS requirement and the sort of care that we would want as patients in the local authorities? So the bit about testing out our decisions and being able to use a model that scenario plans for us and says that if we do X, what happens to Y? And what are the impacts upon resources? How do we manage and treat ill health across a whole system? And what are the sort of partnerships and engagements that we might need to work on to make our plans reality, rather than just being plans that in theory should work? I'm sure, as many of us know from our own experience, in practice often don't because of unintended consequences. So I think for me, the benefit of undertaking integrated planning from my experience is that we're able to accurately and predictably plan, that what we expect to happen largely does happen. But what it does require is for all partners to be really transparent and upfront about their current resources, how that impacts upon the service provision that is currently in place, and also to look backwards as well, and to say, when we try to left shift, when we try to prevent unmet need manifesting itself somewhere else in the system, what did we get wrong? What was it that was missing? What did we not anticipate? And this model allows us to test that out dynamically, but it does require everybody to be really transparent and upfront and open about their workforce, their estate, their skill sets, etc., in order for it to work. Is there one more slide, Katya? Is there another slide, Katya? Sorry.
I don't know. It's Alison. I'm just checking if it's moving forward. So
Okay, well, that was largely what I was going to say anyway, Alison. So I think what I'm trying to say is, from my experience, this opportunity is take a lot of the data that we've got, but turn it into meaningful intelligence. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that the data is accurate, robust, but also it has those transparent additional pieces of information in it around our resources, estate, etc. But also that we're able to learn from experience, but look ahead. And in order to achieve a population health management success, be able to move from towards digital technology. How does that play its role in our delivery and our plans? And what do we actually mean by prevention? And how do we manage that and implement that across whole systems, and particularly in place where obviously most people live and most people expect to get the healthcare. So that's what we're talking about and offering up as a tool, really, to try and deliver that for whole systems.
Thank you, Jim.
Back to you, Alison.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Jim. I'm sure there'll be some comments on the chat around that. And I think one of the key things is the point you were raising about transparency. We're all in it together. This is a team endeavour to make a difference to populations at place and in our communities. It very much is about, the transparent and the sharing and understanding what resources we have and how we can use those resources differently. And we actually need information and data to be able to do this well. So as you know, there's sort of information sources. We need to have information on our population. We need to understand the segmentation, the stratification of our population. We need to understand those needs, and we need to be able to understand how those needs are converting into the sort of healthcare services that are needed to respond to those health and care needs. Therefore, we need to make sure that we've got really rich intelligence and data to construct our services and to support planning. And what Darcy has talked about is the need for us to adopt technology, adopt and use the data and use the intelligence to really drive forward better management of health and care. And I think we are sitting on a huge asset here of our data, and how do we connect that together and to get it to be much more predictive, much more about telling us where we've got the opportunities to improve and provide more insight. But what we're presenting today isn't a BI tool. What we're presenting is a planning tool. It's about making purposeful change stick. It's about making decisions day in, day out, and being able to hold each other to account for the plans and the decisions that are being made. We work with a partner, Anaplan, one of the national leaders in this space of planning. And what we have to have is a technology to be able to integrate all of this data together into a data hub and create that understanding of national and local data together, so that we connect together the population information, but we connect that to the workforce that are working in community services, that we connect that to finance and the resources, to understand the activities that are going on and the caseloads that are going on in communities, and to look at what performance we all want to achieve and how we integrate that together with the transformation programs and the initiatives that we're deploying across our different places. Now, the PHM, Population Health Management Learning Cycle, which I'm sure you'll all be very aware of, is a cycle. It is about learning. It's about iteration. It's about continuous assessment about are we making a difference? Do we understand our population health and care needs? Have we got the tools to be able to segment, look at variation in delivery of care, variation in outcomes? What services and assets do we have in our communities to respond to those needs? How are we prioritising, and therefore on the back of that, looking at the priorities we want to set, and how do we set a target, a goal for the improvement we want to see? And how do we then predict the impact? If we can make a difference on that goal, what impact are we going to make? What's going to be the target? What's going to be the improvement that we actually all believe we can make a difference to? And how do we stack up a whole range of interventions that work across organisations, across integrated teams, genuinely population and place-centred interventions? And we therefore monitor and address and actively understand the impact we're making. Now, that outer circle is effectively the population health management learning cycle. And what sits in the centre of this is resource management. They're two sides of the same coin. We're looking outward to our population. We're continuously looking at the difference we're making across our various teams that are working in place. But how we connect this together has to be through a platform of transparency of how we put our resources together to show that we're making a difference. Now, these are the elements of our resource planning platform. So we would look for finance. What are all the various budgets and resources that are in place that are across the community? What workforce do we have that we can deploy against these population health management objectives? What are the goals that we've set? What are the benefits and performance goals that we've set? And how are we connecting all of this together with the interventions, the transformation programs that are driving delivery on this? So for me, I think I see them as two sides of the same coin. We have to have a population health management culture and framework and a set of processes within which resource management is the, if you like, the guts of the delivery. It's about day to day, month in, month out, actually how are we measuring the results and how are we contributing to that? And a lot of research on this really in terms of what are the enablers for successful multi-agency and multi-organisational planning. And in the community, it's a team sport. It is across primary care, community services, mental health, local authority, third sector. It's a team sport, and working backwards from those goals and improvements with that strong inequalities and population lens is a first rung of the ladder. Embedding bottom-up innovation with teams, individuals, working with communities on social innovation, working with employers. Innovation has to be captured in your interventions and in that intervention industry. And having those mature partnerships, really mature partnerships between the public sector and wider public sector, private sector and voluntary. I've sat on a number of different bodies in my career, and the mature partnerships really do make a difference. Being clear on that delegated authority to those teams, to that integrated place-based team, that local care organisation, what delegation, what authority have you got to act as one? And then the last rung of the ladder is the integrated resource and decision-making platform. And within our resource platform, it's really clear that we have to work backwards with a clear common value lens. And if you look at all the different organisations I've talked about there, whether it's private sector, whether it's local authority, social care, third sector, NHS, there will be different views about how they value, how they categorise and measure value. And one of the key things to make place-based multi-agency working successful is to have a common value framework. So you can measure success and you can measure value, but you can also measure risk and you can acknowledge risk. So by organisation, by year, you're looking at the risks, the benefits and the investment for all parties. And you're being incredibly transparent about that. And you've got that upfront transparency through a single source of truth, how you've set your priorities, how are you going to do that as a single joint mechanism for doing that. There's a full measurement of benefits across all organisations. You're not going to ignore a risk in one organisation or a disbenefit, or there could be a movement of money from one organisation to another. And therefore you have differential impacts bringing that out at the beginning is really critical for success. And the impact will fall differentially by organisation as well as the population. So it's very important in our planning framework to acknowledge these trade-offs and acknowledge these different measures of benefits and risks, because that will be essential in terms of success. We have quite a broad approach to measurement of value and benefits, hopefully acknowledging all dimensions in this across social value and the impacts that are incredibly important for wider environment, economic and cultural and community development, as well as the health and care outcomes that are critical. And we believe that dynamic course correction is the key to good decision making. In the population health management cycle, it talks about active monitoring and active intervention. And what that means, that active word means that you are course correcting. What that actually means is we actually have got our finger on the pulse. We know what's happening. We know if this program is making a difference. We can see what's coming round the corner. As Jim said earlier, we've tested scenarios. We've looked to the future. We've horizon scanned, and we've got some idea about how we're going to correct the course if we're going off course. So we understand what impact we need to achieve, what changes are we making, do we have the resources stacked up to make those changes? Are we on track, or do we need a new decision? Do we need to change course or adjust course? And are we fully connected? And what I mean by fully connected for our goal is that transparency in place, that everyone's contribution is acknowledged. And that contribution is in finance, it could be in resources, in kind, but also we're connected in terms of value measurement, benefit measurement, finance and risk. So that are we fully connected for our goal is quite a critical one. An example that we have in terms of a case study here, and we did cover it in one of our other webinars, but I still think it's very relevant for this one, is where we connected across a pathway of care and really looked at the transparency question for community capacity. So if we're going to have a really joined up integrated set of decisions, we need to connect together all of our types of discharge capacity and discharge services in the community. And what we've done here is just colour code them really for, pathway 0 to pathway 3. And connect that capacity through to the hospital in terms of their predicted requirements in terms of discharge planning and discharge flow, so that we can keep the whole system flowing. And that predictive ability to be able to look around the corner, to be able to see what's needed and to be able to agree together what is to be put in place in terms of resources, workforce, contracts, resilience in the home care sector, ensuring that we've got all of that lined up together is absolutely critical. So to me, the key thing is that transparency, joint decision making, and being able to do that dynamically and course correct. We have a video that I won't share, but I will put it out because I think it's about 7 minutes long, something like that. So, but there is a video that takes you through and does an example of this. And we'd be only too pleased for any questions coming back from that. We do have an opportunity that we would be happy for any colleagues on this call, if they want to contact us and would like to collaborate on a development around this topic area. So we'd be really keen to work with you on building a proof of value, or to look at this as a key priority within community services, whether that be place-based, whether it be for a particular population challenge. We'd be very interested with that, particularly if it's multi-agency. And where we're looking for the transparency of resources as being a critical lever, and interconnectedness across teams so that we can drive better value for everyone. And if you would like to connect with us, there's a set of emails there. There is another 2 webinars that we've got. One is on the 5th of December, which is going to take you through all of our master integration models, which explains how we integrate from all of from place right through to an individual organisation to system to region, and takes you through some of that assurance process of triangulation. And then our final webinar is looking at planning for a care pathway with a lens on carbon, but we do cover all the other resource lenses as well. But we know in this day and age, and COP29 just finished, we thought it was very relevant for us to put a decarbonisation webinar on as well. So I will finish there, and I would just turn to Katya if there's anything Katya would like to call out on the chat, anything you would like to bring out for us to pick up at the end of the webinar. Otherwise, we will hopefully hear from you. Please contact her. We'd be absolutely thrilled to hear from you. Your thoughts, criticism, ideas for the future, whatever. We just would love to work with you. Have a look at our YouTube channel, and hopefully drop into these future webinars, and we'd love to see you there. Thank you very much.